So, as the harvest comes to an end and the darkness is drawing in, I am sure we are all preparing for Samhain, when the spirits of the dead will return, and to protect ourselves we don the guise of the dead, for they never attack their own. This is the perfect opportunity to talk about a creature deeply rooted in the history of Samhain, the devious Cat-She. The Cat-She is a mostly malevolent fairy or spirit from Scottish and Irish folklore. It commonly appears as a black cat. The Cat-She is said to be as big as a large dog, and often seen with an arched back and sharp bristle-like fur. The identifying mark of a Cat-She, apart from its size that is a spot of white-coloured fur on the chest of the beast. When around humans, the spectral cat will walk on all fours, but some tales say that if you were to sneak up on a Cat-She, you may be able to catch them walking on their hind legs and singing to themselves. The Cat-She can be found all over Scotland, from John O'Groats in the north right down to the borders in the south. Some have even been seen in Ireland. But most tales of these unnerving black cats come from the Scottish Highlands. The Highlanders did not trust the Cat-She. In fact, they feared it greatly, for it was said that the Cat-She could steal the soul of a person, dooming them for eternity. The Cat-She harvested the unclaimed souls of the Highlanders by crossing over their body as it waited to be buried. No longer was the soul free to be claimed by the gods. Now it was trapped in an unending purgatory. It was of such a great concern to the Highlanders that many of the old customs surrounding funeral arrangements were created specifically to keep the Cat-She away. A constant vigil of watchers, called the Féil Fadalach, were to guard the corpse day and night before the burial to keep the Cat-She away. There were many methods used to deter the dark feline from its prey. It was known that the Cat-She liked the warmth, so there was to be no fires lit anywhere near the body. Also, catnip was used to distract the creature, as well as music, which the Cat-She enjoyed. Other methods were to challenge the spirit to contests of speed, strength, jumping. Some would even test the Cat-She on its knowledge of riddles and songs. All this would be kept up until the sun rose on the following day and the body could safely be buried, soul intact. The Cat-She is commonly associated with Samhain, the Celtic Festival which represented the end of the harvest and the beginning of the darker half of the year. Many of the Samhain traditions were amalgamated into All Hallows Eve, a Western Christian festival. Things such as dressing up like spirits or ghosts, black cats and witches, and possibly the most iconic part of Halloween, the jack-o'-lantern, which were called neepy lanterns and made from turnips. In Scotland, it was well known that if you left a saucer of milk outside your home on Samhain, the Cat-She would bless your house, and next year's harvest would be bountiful. But if a house did not provide milk for the magical cat, it would be cursed. Their crops would wilt, and their livestock would die. It did not pay to anger the Cat-She. One of the more sinister tales of the Cat-She is that of Big Ears and the Tagarum. Tagarum was a magic ceremony performed in Scotland a long time ago. It was quite a sinister and grotesque practice, but necessary if one wanted to be granted forbidden or occult knowledge. Quite simply, you would need to gather many cats, live cats, and take them out into the dark woods with you. There you would build a fire with a roasting spit, then proceed to roast and burn each cat alive while turning the spit until 4 days have passed. If you sacrificed a sufficient number of cats, a monstrous giant Cat-She would appear, followed by a retinue of smaller cats. The great Cat-She was known as Clúisan Mara, or more commonly, Big Ears. Once summoned, Big Ears would answer any question, or sometimes grant wishes to those who had performed the ceremony. It is said that during the 4 days, lesser spirits would appear as smaller black cats and attempt to harass and manipulate those who performed the ritual. A known occasion, when the Tagarum was performed successfully, was on the Isle of Mull during the 17th century. 2 young men, Alan Maclean and Lachlan Maclean, were the perpetrators of the horrible act. Both were unmarried and poor, Each wanted wealth and prosperity, and decided one night that the Tagarum was the only option. They were going to carry out the dreadful ceremony in a barn near their home. Alan and Lachlan spent nearly 2 weeks hunting and gathering cats for the ritual, which they kept in the barn until the time had come to begin the ceremony. Then, at exactly midnight between Friday and Saturday, the horrid pair began the Grizzly Ritual. The first cat was placed living onto the spit and roasted above the fire. The poor cat screeched and yowled, and the life was burnt from its body. Then another cat quickly took its place. Almost as if the rest of the cats knew their fate, they began to scream and yell, creating a sinister dissonance all around the two men. It was around this time that malevolent spirits began to enter the barn. As the first of many Catshi entered, it said to Lachlan,
"O Lachlan, son of Neil, that is a poor usage for a cat."
Alan cautioned Lachlan, told him whatever you hear, whatever you see, you must continue to turn the spit. As time went on, more and more Catshi entered the barn and began to taunt and hurl insults at the pair. This continued until a larger Catshi appeared and spoke to Lachlan.
"You must stop now, if you know what is good for you. Desist before our grey-haired brother arrives, or you will never behold the face of God."
Lachlan told the Catshi that he would not be persuaded to stop, even if all the evil in the underworld appeared before him. His task would be complete. By the end of the 4th day, the barn and even the rafters were packed with the Catshi, all contributing to the intense cacophony around the two men, who were beginning to feel their sanity slip away. Finally, the ritual was complete, as a giant Catshi with incredibly long ears approached the barn. Towering well above the men, the great leader of the Catshi did not speak a word, but gestured to the pair. Alan was the first to speak. He was in complete shock and quite horrified that the ritual actually worked. He produced only one word: wealth. Lachlan, much firmer than Alan, asked for wealth, and that he be granted a beautiful wife to bear him healthy sons that would one day become great and powerful warriors. With that, the pair bowed in the presence of the great Catshi, and when they raised their heads, all the cats had gone. As the years went by, both men got precisely what they had asked from the Catshi. Great wealth and a strong family were given to both men. Each led long and happy lives. Lachlan was first to die, and little is known about his death. But not long after Lachlan, Alan became incredibly ill. On his deathbed, a local priest told him to be careful of the devil. Alan told the priest that he knew he would never see the face of God, and if he could find Lachlan in the afterlife, he believed that together they could dethrone the devil and rule over his dominion. On the night of Alan's burial, it is said that multiple witnesses saw both Alan and Lachlan clad in full armour, on horseback. With banners raised and weapons drawn, they charged off into the night, never to be seen again. It is thought that this tale is the inspiration for the old Scottish proverb, "Whatever you see or hear, keep the cat turning." Doesn't matter what happens, get the job done. In many of the old tales, the Catshi is portrayed as a witch. These witches were said to be able to take the form of a cat 9 times. For the first 8 transformations, the witch could easily return to her human form, but on the 9th, she would remain in the feline form until the end of her life. Some say this is the origin of the saying, "Cats have 9 lives." One such tale of a feline witch is the story of the Witch of Laggan. One day a hunter and his hunting dogs took shelter from a wild storm inside a small mountain bothy, deep within the forest of Gayak. As he lit a fire to dry himself, the bothy door opened a crack and a large black cat creeped in. Within seconds the hounds were at it as the hunter struggled to hold them back. The cat, now terrified and backed into a corner, suddenly stood up on 2 legs and spoke. "You have caught me. I am a witch. But please, I beg of you, great hunter, allow me to live." The hunter was very puzzled, and still held the dogs. He asked the witch why he should spare her. The cat informed the man that she was forced to be a witch by a cruel and oppressive sisterhood, that the choice was not hers. The hunter took pity on the poor creature and invited her to come sit by the fire. The cat, being much obliged to the hunter, said she would love to sit by the fire, but she still had a terrible fear of the hounds. She asked if the hunter would tether the hounds to a wooden beam, and offered him a length of hair rope. The hunter, knowing of the devious nature of witches, was not convinced. He pretended to tie up the hounds, but actually only tied the rope to the beam. The cat then came closer to the fire, and began to grow and twist in shape, until it became an old, crooked, evil-looking woman, the Witch of Laggan. She turned to the hunter and told him his last hour had been lived, and sprang upon him, grasping his throat. The hounds moved to aid their master, and the witch screamed, "Fasten, hare, fasten!" The rope tied round the beam tightened with so much force the wood shattered. As the splinters flew into the air, the witch knew the hunter had lied, and the gnashing jaws of the hounds slammed down upon her leg. The faithful hound's grasp of the witch never loosened, until her wild flailing had ripped every single tooth from the hound's mouth. Free at last, she transformed back into the black cat and ran from the bothy, while the dying hounds crawled back to their master. The next day, the distraught hunter buried both of his loyal hunting companions and headed home. Once the hunter had returned home, his wife told him that she had just been visiting one of the old women who lived in the village. Apparently, last night, she was attacked by wolves and almost lost a leg. She wasn't expected to survive the day. The hunter, with a dreadful sinking feeling, rushed to the old woman's house. There, surrounded by upset friends and members of the local church, lay the Witch of Laggan. The enraged hunter uncovered her wounds and accused her of being in league with the devil, an evil and insidious witch. As she lay on the edge of life, the Witch of Laggan confessed her crimes to the stunned crowd and asked for forgiveness before she passed. Although she died that night, the story is not over yet. Later that evening, one of the witch's neighbours, while walking home, met a strange woman dressed all in black. She asked for directions to the church. She then headed off in the direction the man had pointed at a very quick pace, saying she must reach it before midnight. The man could swear that she looked just like his neighbour, the Witch of Laggan, only much, much younger. But before he could dwell on that thought, another mysterious figure appeared. A large, imposing man, clad all in black, on top a great black horse, and following close behind were two jet-black hunting dogs, bigger than any the man had seen. The black figure on the horse asked the man if he had seen a woman. The man, whose heart and mind seemed to turn cold with each moment, just pointed in the direction of the church. The figure then continued on and gestured an arm in the direction of the church. The hounds ran ahead. The man continued on the road for another few minutes. Then he saw the black horseman returning, only this time he had the body of the woman lying in front of the saddle, flesh torn asunder, teeth marks from the hounds. It would seem the devil does not forgive or forget. That night, Lucifer and his hounds claimed the soul which was rightfully his. It is thought that the inspiration for the cat she could be related to the Scottish wildcats, or more commonly, the Callous Cat. The Callous Cat is the result of a wild cat and a domestic cat breeding. Some can be pure black and grow to quite a large size. The Callous Cat was thought to be mythological until in 1984, when one was caught in a trap by a local gamekeeper. This creature may also be the perpetrator behind the many large cat sightings in northeast Scotland, some of which were even thought to be wild panthers or pumas, but the Callous Cat seems much more likely. These cats are impeccable hunters and roam Scotland still to this day, although they are endangered, with estimates suggesting that there is less than 400 alive and well in the wild. The Callous Cat caused quite the scare in Scotland. Sightings of the Callous Cat, or large black cats, continue right up until today. So, if out, walking in the wilds of Scotland, beware the dreaded cat she, for some things still lurk in the dark. Thank you for listening. Happy Halloween.